nations. Jesus, comfort for all who mourn. You are the source of heaven's hope on earth. Jesus, light in the darkness. Jesus, truth in each circumstance. You are the source of heaven's light on earth. In history, you lived and died. You broke the chains. You rose to life. You are the hope living in us. You are the rock in whom we trust. You are the light shining for all the world to see. You rose from the dead, conquering fear, our Prince of Peace, drawing us near. Jesus, our hope, living for all who will receive. Lord, we believe. Lord, we believe. Lord, we believe.
Do please be seated. Our first reading is going to come from Psalm 84, and Barbara is going to bring that to us.
The first reading is from Psalm 84, verses 5 to 7. Blessed are those whose strength is in you, whose hearts are set in pilgrimage. As they pass through the valley of Acre, they make it a place of springs. The autumn rains also cover it with pools. They go from strength to strength, till each appears before God in Zion. This is the word of the Lord. Thanks be to God.
Thank you, Barbara. And Eileen is going to bring us our second gospel reading.
The reading is from Matthew chapter 25, verses 34 to 40. Then the king will say to those on his right, "Come, you who are blessed by my Father, take your inheritance, the kingdom prepared for you since the creation of the world. For I was hungry, and you gave me something to eat. I was thirsty, and you gave me something to drink. I was a stranger, and you invited me in. I needed clothes, and you clothed me. I was sick, and you looked after me. I was in prison, and you came to visit me." Then the righteous will answer him, "Lord, when did we see you hungry and feed you, or thirsty and give you something to drink? When did we see you a stranger and invite you in, or needing clothes and clothe you? When did we see you sick or in prison and go to visit you?" The king will reply, "I tell you the truth. Whatever you did for one of the least of these brothers of mine, you did for me." This is the word of the Lord. Thanks be to God.
Thank you, Eileen. We welcome Sue to come and speak to us. Sue is representing Acre, which is a local charity. We do know a little bit about Acre because it's one of those which our church supports, but she'll tell us much more. So Sue, if you'd like to come forward, and then I will just pray for you and then give you the podium. Lord, we do pray for Sue that you will speak through her to us. Through her words, let us see you, see how we can reach out and help you. And Lord, through that, give you our worship. We ask this in your precious name. Amen.
Good morning, everybody. It's still very warm today, isn't it? So well done. We've got lovely fans in this church, haven't we? So my name, as you've heard, is Sue, and I'm part of the team at the Back of Charity. And also this morning I have Martha with me, and we'll be setting up a stand after the service, so you can come and ask us questions, or you can come and have some leaflets. But before I begin speaking about Acre this morning, and the young people we support, I thought I would explain a few facts about asylum seekers, refugees, and migrants. So I'm going to ask a few questions and leave a few seconds to see if anyone can answer. Now, I know I have Gary over here, and he works at Acre, so he's probably going to be able to answer some of these questions. But we'll wait and see. We'll wait and see if anyone else can as well. So can anyone tell me what a refugee is? Does anybody know? Just put your hand up if you know and have a go. Go on. Okay. So you've got a little bit of personal family experience. So if we put the next slide on, here is the answer, and you were pretty right. A person who has fled his country because of a well-founded fear of persecution on the grounds of race, religion, nationality, membership of a particular social group, or political opinion. So my next question is, does anybody know what an asylum seeker is, who they are?
Somebody who wants to come to this country to feel safe, to feel that they can be who they want to be.
Okay, so if we put up the next slide, it's someone who's been forced to leave their country and who's applied for protection under the UN Convention. They haven't yet been recognised as a refugee. So that was fairly right. They've come to a country for safety. And finally, does anybody know what a migrant is? We hear that word quite a lot in the press, don't we?
People are coming on boats from France and other places.
I-
The government seems to be hung up that.
I think you've said that quite well. But actually, a migrant is actually a person who has moved from one country to another for different reasons, such as to study or find work. Because actually, the people that come on the boats are often asylum seekers or refugees because they're having to flee their country. They're being forced to flee due to war. Now, I've now got the idea of where do refugees flee to? Now, that's not a question for you. We're just going to show it on the screen that at the end of 2021, 89.3 million people were forcibly displaced in this world, of which 27.1 million were refugees. And Turkey hosts the largest amount of displaced people, providing safety to 3.7 million refugees. And then the next slide actually shows where different amounts of refugees are in different countries. And it's interesting to note that the UK is less than 1%. So less than 1% of the 2.7 million refugees come to the UK. So we actually have a very small amount here. Now, 41% of these displaced people are children. And in the next slide, you'll see in the last 12 months, we've had 5,152 young people seeking asylum have come to the UK. And many of these young people travel alone. Many are boys rather than girls, because the boys, they often let travel alone more than the girls. They normally have a family member with the girls. Their parents have sent them out of the country for their safety. So that country is normally in conflict, or there's persecution, or there's a threat of death. And often on their journey to the UK, which takes several years, they are trafficked or exploited as well. So it's a pretty awful journey. And there's a quote on the next slide, which is from Vicky Ford, the family minister in July 2022, that said, unaccompanied asylum-seeking children can be some of the most vulnerable in our care, having faced dreadful exploitation from traffickers and appalling conditions both at home and on their journey to the UK. Now, at Acre, we look after some of these young people. They've come across the country, they've had to flee their country because for their safety, and they've come to Acre, and we look after young people that are aged 16 to 18 years old. Now, we had beautifully read out Psalm 84 earlier, and I just want to read that again because it is connected to Acre, because you'll have heard the name Acre in it. It says, "Blessed are those whose strength is in you, whose hearts are set on pilgrimage. As they pass through the valley of Acre, they make it a place of springs. The autumn rains also covers it with pools as they go from strength to strength." Now, in many ways, in all ways, in fact, our young people are on a journey when they come to Acre, and we're not the stopping point forever. We're that valley of Acre, if you like, and they've come to be refreshed, and they've come to be restored with strength and hope for their futures and to go on and thrive in their futures. Now, our vision is a world where all child refugees are welcomed, safe and inspired with hope to rebuild their lives for a better future. That's our vision as a charity. And you'll see on the next slide, our mission is a really good insight in how we outwork part of our vision on a daily basis. Now, I'm not going to read that whole mission. You can see it in front of you, but what I want to highlight is that we provide safe homes, we provide education, and we provide therapeutic care and support in every part of the young people's lives. The bit I love at the end is that we believe they have a dignity worth celebrating, talents worth discovering, and a life to live to its fullest potential, and that's our desire for them. So a little bit about where the journey begins at Acre for the young people. Well, it begins when they arrive in the UK, and often they've travelled for several years. They've experienced being homeless, they've experienced being hungry, being exploited, and some of them have been trafficked. And their journeys are often treacherous. And they normally arrive in the UK either on the back of a lorry that's crammed with other refugees to the point that it's almost stifling, or on a boat that's completely crammed with other people and it's got way more people than the boat can cope with. They arrive here not knowing anyone, not speaking the language. Nothing is the same as their country, it's completely different, and they don't know who to trust. The police often find them, and they will then legally put them under the care of the local social services, who then ask, in this locality, they ask Acre to care for them. Now, they are often arrive at Acre, often with just the clothes they're wearing, and if they've got any possessions, there are very few of them. And we take them to one of our houses where they can be safe. We give them a bedroom of their own, and we buy them food and clothes. And as you can imagine, if you're 16 years old, this is pretty daunting, really. And it's really daunting in those first few weeks of being here. But actually, they're living with young people that are in the same position, young people that have also fled their countries. And so soon, they sort of begin to build friendships. Now, I have a story that happened a few weeks ago that involved me with a new arrival. So a few weeks ago, we had a new arrival, and all our young people were on a week's residential in the Peak District. And we felt it best, rather than him stay at the house on his own with just the support worker, it would be best for him to go and join the young people. And so myself and a colleague, we were driving up to the Peak District that day for a day to go and visit them all on their residential, which we love doing. And so we took him with us. He could barely speak any English, and so he was pretty silent on that journey. But when he arrived, two boys immediately came up to him, and they could speak his language, and they were just welcoming him. And within minutes, he was on a bike ride with them. He'd literally been given a bike, and off he went with them, which was amazing to see. But what was really amazing was that evening, before I left, I peeked into the kitchen where they were staying, and he was there happily chatting with a group of young people that were from the same country as him, and they were cooking food for everyone else. And it was like he'd been there for years with them. It was amazing. But just going back to what happens with them at Backer, so the day after they arrive at Backer, they go straight into education. So they can learn English and then maths and ICT as well. So after many, many years and months of them having no routine on their journey, often they have to be asleep in the day and awake at night just for their safety. This gives them a daily routine and also an opportunity to learn and speak English, which helps them settle into the life in UK. Now, we have a specialist college based in our centre, which is for new arrivals, helping to build their confidence and helping them to learn to be in a classroom setting. Many of them go on to local colleges either here or in Leicester, and they either take courses in specific subjects that they want to have a sort of a career in, or they go on to take GCSEs. In fact, we were celebrating on Friday on our social media because one of our young people had passed all of his GCSEs, I think, wasn't it? Which is amazing. If you think they've not been in the country that long to then take GCSEs. And they also learn basic living skills, such as buying food. A supermarket looks very different here to their countries. Cooking, washing their clothes, cleaning. Some like to learn a bit of DIY, some like to grow things in the garden. They're taken to the doctors, the dentist, and they begin attending appointments with solicitors so that they can start beginning to apply for asylum in the UK. Now, there are many things for them to learn and many ways to adjust. Many things in the UK are so different to what they've known in their country, such as the currency of money. They have to learn the currency of money and how that's spent, or even just crossing a road. This intrigued me when I was told this early on when I was at Backer, that the roads here are so different and in many ways so much busier, and it can be so intimidating for them to cross our roads, which we think nothing of, but imagine being in their shoes. As well as education, we also offer art, drama and dance therapy at Backer. And this is a huge help to the young people because they're often really traumatised from their journey, or they're massively missing their family, or they're actually worried for their family as to whether they're still alive, because often they've left their family in conflict. Last year, we were able to lease a new centre, which meant we could have a dedicated therapy room, which is amazing. And they just go in there and they talk to the therapists, or they just do something to express how they're feeling that day. It's just really amazing. And many of them love sport, and particularly football. Some of the boys have joined local teams in Loughborough. Many of them will meet together on a Saturday morning and have a kick around with football. That's boys and girls. And recently, a few of our young people wanted to take up cricket, and they joined a local club, and their team captain described them as both being excellent players. So we're very proud of all of our young people. Some of the highlights during the year are trips they go to all sorts of places. They'll go to the seaside, they'll go to water parks, they'll go go-karting, they'll go to places such as Warwick Castle or Alton Towers. They go to all sorts of places because they're still young. And even though all of these things have happened to them, they still need to have some fun. And one of their favourite trips, which is every other year, is to go to London. They absolutely love that. And every summer, as I mentioned earlier, we go on a residential, which they fondly call their Backer holiday. One year they made a whole video about their Backer holiday. But for this, we let them plan this completely for months before. They plan the activities they want to do. They plan the food they want to eat. Food is very important to them because it keeps them connected to their family and culture. And every evening on that residential, groups of young people from the same country will cook food from their culture, and then everyone will eat it. And there's normally a bit of dancing going on as well to their music. And at Backer, we're creating a community, a family for the young people, a place that feels safe to be themselves, a place they can call home. And this is really important for them. Many young people will keep in touch with us after we've left Bacca. Some have gone on to take degrees, some have got their own businesses, some have got married and have got children, and it's wonderful to see them thrive. And currently we have 11 houses, which most of them have 4 young people and then a residential support worker that supports them. And we have 40 young people in Loughborough. And in Cambridge, we opened 2 houses 2 years ago, and we now have 9 young people in Cambridge. And since 2008, we've had the privilege of caring for nearly 500 young people, which is amazing. Now, the other reading you had this morning was from Matthew 25. And I love the bit at the end. You know, it talks about feeding someone and clothing someone and providing shelter for someone. And you read it out beautifully as well. But at the end it says, the king will reply, truly, I tell you, whatever you do for one of these brothers and the least of these brothers and sisters of mine, you did for me. And that's pretty amazing, isn't it? And I think there's something amazing about helping others. And we've certainly found this at Bacca, because it's a privilege to be helping these refugee children. Now, you might wonder how you can help this morning. And we have opportunities to volunteer, whether it's mentoring in English or teaching hobbies or all sorts of opportunities. And please come and speak to Martha or I after the service. We'll be in I think it's the bit where you get refreshments. I don't know what you call that. That's where we'll be. But we also, this year, have an appeal running, which is called the Gift of Learning Appeal, in which we're asking people or organisations to sponsor in some way our classrooms. We've estimated it will cost us £15,000 to run 2 classrooms this year, and we're asking everyone to help us. And just to finish, I want to tell you a story of a young person that's connected to education. So here's the story about Isaiah. That's not his real name. We always have to change the names. Helping others, especially those who are struggling, is something Isaiah has always liked to do. Isaiah arrived at a Bacca home a few years ago, having fled his home country of Ethiopia. Since then, he's made incredible academic progress, passing his GCSE Maths and English at grade 4 and 5. On top of that, he's also giving something back to support fellow young people at Bacca. While studying for his GCSEs at a local college, Isaiah wanted to help the younger people at Bacca College. And our specialist college is tailored to the needs of young people newly arrived in the UK to build their knowledge and skills in a safe educational environment. To help Bacca students achieve better grades, Isaiah came up with the idea of being a class assistant. He wanted to help the other young people by explaining maths, English and ICT in their native language. Encouraging creativity and innovation is a key part of Bacca College, so teacher Miss Price was inspired by Isaiah's idea and asked him if he wanted to test it out to come and support lessons once a week. Now, Isaiah decided to invite another one of the older boys who he thought would also love to help out, and so the 2 of them became the first Bacca College class assistants. The idea has been an immense success. Miss Price said, together they've been a real asset and very professional in their approach. Isaiah working one-to-one with Bacca College students has made such a positive difference, especially for Fatima, who has found maths concepts challenging to understand in English. With Isaiah's help, she is much more confident in her abilities. Isaiah is working towards GCSE ICT and business exams at the end of the year and looking into an IT A-level courses that might help him reach his goal of going to university to study IT or business. He also continues to be passionate about helping other people. With his newfound confidence in his translation skills, he has applied to become a volunteer interpreter for Care for Calais, so he can help other people seeking sanctuary in the UK to navigate life in his country. Isaiah says the safe environment and community Bacca provides has encouraged him to help others in the Bacca family achieve their educational goals. This has fostered his sense of responsibility, independence, creativity, and drive to help him rebuild his future. Now, this is just one story. Isaiah's story is just one of many remarkable and incredible stories that we have of our young people. They're all pretty incredible young people. And as I said earlier, if you'd like to know more about Backer this morning, then come and speak to Martha or I, and we'd love to chat to you. And I'd just like to thank you for inviting us to come here this morning. You've all listened beautifully. Thank you.
All to Jesus I surrender. All to Him I freely give. I will ever love and trust Him in His presence daily live. I surrender all. I surrender all to Thee, my blessed Savior. I surrender all. So all to Jesus I surrender. Humbly at His feet I bow. Worldly pleasures all forsaken. Take me, Jesus, take me now. 'Cause I surrender all. I surrender all to Thee, my blessed Savior. I surrender all. So all to Jesus I surrender. Make me Savior, wholly Thine. Let me feel the Holy Spirit. Truly know that Thou art mine. And I surrender all. I surrender all to Thee, my blessed Savior. I surrender all to Jesus. I surrender, Lord. I give myself to Thee. Fill me with Thy love and power. Let Thy blessing fall on me. I surrender all. I surrender all to Thee, my blessed Savior. I surrender.